Okay, we've returned from our lunch recess and ready to continue our meeting. And we'd like to move to item 14 on the agenda, and that is AB 317, Jackson, California First-Time Homebuyer Dream Act. And Mr. Vasquez, would you like to make the introduction?
Thank you, Chair Gaines. Yes, the Assemblymember Jackson, who participated in our hearing when we were dealing with the affordable housing hearing, shortly after that, we had a meeting with him and his office, and he was trying to figure out a way to come up with a bill to help first-time home buyers. Mm-hmm. And here's what we have, and it's AB 317 for California First-Time Homebuyers Dream Act. And I believe it looks like his chief of staff is going to deliver the presentation, and then we'll take any questions and comments.
Wonderful. Go ahead, you can go ahead and present.
All right, I appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. Chair. For the rest of the board, my name is Mitchell Natos. I am the legislative director for Assemblymember Corey Jackson. So I appreciate the opportunity to talk about this bill specifically today and kind of some of the ambitions that the Assemblymember is hoping to achieve with this bill. And so I'll get started. So specifically AB 317, the California First-Time Home Owners Dream Act, is a bill that represents a bold step forward in addressing the housing affordability crisis in our state, with a clear focus on making homeownership more accessible for first-time home buyers. So just kind of wanted to take a couple minutes here today to talk about this bill and kind of bring California housing market and how it will positively impact both home buyers and our communities. So there's two big provisions with this bill that we're hoping to achieve. With homes that meet certain criteria, we're looking for a CEQA exemption as well as a property tax deferral for first-time home buyers. So going with the first provision, the CEQA exemption for new housing projects, major provision of AB 317 is this exemption from the California Environmental Quality Act for certain housing projects. CEQA has obviously been a cornerstone of environmental protection in California. Ensuring that new developments consider their environmental impacts. However, we've seen that this law can sometimes slow down the process for building much needed housing, particularly for smaller residential projects that have minimal environmental impact. Specifically, as far as the requirements that this bill would have for new housing, it would be, newly constructed single family homes that are 1,500 square feet or less with no more than 3 bedrooms, designed to be sold to first-time home buyers and priced at or below $400,000. So this exemption will kind of make it easier and faster to build affordable homes for first-time buyers while still preserving the necessary environmental reviews for larger and more impactful projects. Kind of hoping that this streamlined process will allow developers to build more homes quickly, which will help address California's critical housing shortage. By removing unnecessary delays, we are hoping to provide a more affordable housing options and help families achieve their dream of home ownership. And so I think that's something that we struggled a lot with, in recent years. Kind of taking into consideration, specifically the price of homes and seeing, obviously the national or the average in the state is, much higher than this, but I think that kind of just underscores really what we're trying to do with this bill, where, we're trying to make sure that, these specific criteria are met so that homes that are priced around this range, just making sure that we're having this targeted approach. So, having conversations with committee around that, specifically seeing kind of, how we're going to achieve that, if that's something that could possibly already be exempted in some cases, but looking we're right now in the process of the Natural Resources Committee and kind of discussing kind of how that would look overall in the state. So second big portion of this bill would be the property tax deferral for first-time home buyers. I think is something that is maybe a little bit more interested for the audience that is here today. For this, we're trying to offer first-time home buyers an essential financial lifeline. Under this provision, property taxes for newly constructed homes that meet the same criteria as we stated about the $400,000 designed to be sold to first-time home buyers, 1,500 square feet or less with no more than 3 bedrooms. That would meet our requirements to have this property tax deferral. We kind of see from our office's point of view that this deferral is especially beneficial for those purchasing their first homes who maybe facing tight financial constraints. The ability to defer property taxes until the home changes ownership or until the owner notifies the assessor will help alleviate some of the immediate financial burdens that could make purchasing a home seem out of reach for a lot of Californians. For many first-time home buyers, we've seen that this deferral means that they can focus on settling into their new homes without worrying about steep upfront tax payments. The provision aligns with the state's broader goals of ensuring homeownership is more achievable for a greater number of people, particularly in a state where housing prices have continued to climb, as I mentioned prior. So, I think with those two things, we're really trying to make sure that we are increasing the availability of affordable housing for first-time home buyers. In California, specifically, many potential homeowners are priced out of the market, especially in high-demand areas where housing costs are far beyond the reach of most families. AB 317 will provide a much-needed boost to first-time home buyers by making housing more affordable and more accessible. By encouraging the construction of smaller, more affordable homes and reducing the tax burdens on new buyers, this bill creates an opportunity for people who would otherwise struggle to enter the housing market. This is particularly important for working families, young professionals, and others who are just starting out and looking to put down roots in our communities. And in stating with our communities, I think another pillar of AB 317 is fostering the development for more sustainable communities. With more affordable housing being built and sold to first-time home buyers, we will see communities grow in ways that are more inclusive and diverse, allowing people of all walks of life to access home ownership. By incentivizing the construction of smaller homes that are more affordable and energy efficient, we're not only creating more housing options, but also helping to create greener, more sustainable communities. These homes will have smaller environmental footprint, which will support California's commitment to sustainability and environmental protections. And with that, too, I think, we are in a nice intersection here of ensuring sustainable communities while also, bringing a little economic stability to our communities. The broader economic benefits of AB 317 cannot be overstated. More homeownership means more economic stability for families. It means more people are invested in their communities, which leads to stronger neighborhoods and local economies. Homeownership is one of the most powerful tools for building wealth, and by making it easier for first-time home buyers to purchase homes, we are enabling more people to build that wealth. Lastly, I think by supporting the construction of new homes, AB 317 will also create jobs in the construction, real estate, and related sectors. This is kind of seen as a win-win for both the housing market and the economy as a whole. Kind of in conclusion for, my piece here, I think we see it in our office that AB 317 is a vital piece of legislation that offers a practical solution to the challenges of homeownership in California. By exempting small new single-family homes from CEQA and offering property tax deferrals for first-time home buyers, this bill will directly address the barriers that prevent many Californians from achieving their dreams of owning a home. With this bill, we have an opportunity to make significant progress in tackling the housing affordability crisis in our state. AB 317 will create more affordable housing, provide financial relief to first-time buyers, foster sustainable communities, and contribute to California's long-term economic prosperity. And so I think, we're really excited about this bill in our office, kind of, not only about the provisions that the bill have, but the conversations that are created from this bill. Overall, I think, obviously, the Board of Equalization is going to have a little bit of a hand in helping us assist implement this bill if we get, through the process and, ensuring, compliance. The board will ensure that tax deferrals are properly administered and that all changes in ownership or property use are promptly reported to avoid improper deferments. Monitoring the reimbursement process. If AB 317 imposes a state mandated cost on local agencies, we'll need to facilitate reimbursements in according with established procedures. And the clear communication between local agencies and property owners will need clear guidance on how to manage deferrals and file exemptions. And I think kind of the board will be essential in ensuring that information flows smoothly, ensuring compliance with all relevant provisions of the bill. And as I stated, we are kind of in the conversation process with Natural Resources Committee right now. This bill will go there first, then we will go to Revenue and Taxation. And, ironing out some of the, questions that committee has and how we're going to flesh this bill out completely. So I will leave it there. I know there may be some questions that I could potentially answer, and so I would be happy to do that. And thank you very much again for the opportunity for me to present this bill on behalf of the Assembly member.
Thank you for your presentation. I have one quick question, then I'm going to turn to my colleagues, who I think also have some questions. As I'm looking at this, I'm trying to figure out where can we produce a home for $400,000 in California? Because I know, especially on the west side, the west side of LA, apartment buildings, new construction is anywhere in the neighborhood of $500,000 to $700,000, and that's for a unit, not a home. So I'm wondering where you guys came up with this, or where it's going to be located.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and I think that is, kind of what I was, trying to make the point of, this bill really is trying to create this conversation, to start a conversation. And, I looked through specifically countywide information about, where the average price of a home is, around $400,000. And there's obviously very few counties in California where it's really even close. And, I know that there's some counties kind of, to the north of our state, kind of north coast, as well as, around the members district that might be getting close to that number. I also think that this, in some ways mitigates the bill. I think we want to make sure that, we are still complying with our CEQA obligations. But I think starting at this number of 400,000 gives us the ability to start the conversation, see where this is possible, and see if in the future, if this is something we could move forward with a price tag that might be a little bit higher.
Let me looks like let me start with our chair, Gaines.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, thank you for your presentation, Mr. Matos. I appreciate it. And just curious, in terms of the property tax deferral, could you tell us when that is implemented and at what point does it end? So is this like a tax deferral for the first year, or how does it work?
Our ambitions is to, I believe, specifically, we are looking for a deferral until there is a change of ownership.
Okay. Okay, so would that be a complete exemption? Would that be a tax exemption for the number of years that first-time home buyer is in the home?
I believe it would be.
We might have a legal opinion here.
But I guess, it would be a deferment. I'm sorry. It would be more of a deferment rather than exemption.
Okay.
if I may.
Yes.
This is Richard Moon, the Chief Counsel. I'm looking at the language of the bill as it's currently drafted. The property tax deferral would go to the property builder, not to the first-time home buyer.
I see.
And so there may be, this may just be language that's the initial language that needs to be amended. But it's unclear that the benefit of the deferral would go to the home buyer.
Okay, so it'd be a deferral for the builder, but it would offset expenses for the builder during the construction, I guess.
That's also unclear because the language, again, as it is right now, it doesn't specify, exactly how sort of the mechanics of all this would work.
I see.
I think it's also probably important to point out that typically it would be the tax collector, not the assessor, that deals with property tax payments, deferrals, collections, et cetera. But again, as it is now, the language of the bill gives that responsibility to the assessor.
I see. Okay, that's great. Thank you. I mean, I like the idea of the CEQA exemption for a first-time home buyer, and I understand your target that you're trying to keep that home smaller and at a certain price point. Those are all good aspects. I'm not quite sure on this property tax deferral in terms of how that is going to work, and I don't know if you can provide any more clarity on that, but.
Yeah, I appreciate that question. I appreciate the council as well by pointing that out. And I think overall, I know that the Assembly member had a meeting with you guys and we're kind of discussing options. And I think, with this bill, we kind of started out intentionally vague. And so we kind of, again, are trying to incite this conversation about, okay, how are we going to be able to increase the amount of people that are going to be owning homes, right? And so I think, again, it's very appreciated that you guys let me come here today and kind of have this discussion and open this communication. I know that is conversations that we've been having as well as far as, okay, well, if a project is getting approved, how are we going to ensure that first-time home buyers are going to be buying these houses? And how are we going to ensure that, the right people are going to be targeted with the intention of the bill? And so, again, I think that's why we kind of started with language that was specifically a little bit more vague, just so we had that ability when having conversations with people that, we were able to kind of trim it down a little bit as well. So as I mentioned, that's kind of something that we've been having communications with the Natural Resources Committee right now about how can we get this bill in a place that ensures that we're getting first-time home buyers in homes, while also making it, more workable for local agencies as well.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Vice Chair Lieber, I think, has a question or comment.
Thank you. Appreciate you being here today, and thank you very much for appearing. I had some questions. I didn't see anything in the text of the bill that would indicate that the buyers would be income qualified, so that we'd be targeting first time under X amount of income. And so as you move forward, I'd love to see that be covered. And I was looking at, let's see here, Section 3 of the, Section 3 of the bill, 2636.3, B1 through 2. And so in the event that there is a house, a single-family home, and I had a question, does that include mobile homes? Because I'm sort of an amateur real estate watcher, and the only home for $400,000 or less that I've been able to find in the Central Valley or Inland Empire or any place is pretty much a mobile home. And those do sell for up to $600,000. And then I think it was already mentioned that the deferral is in a change of ownership. So I'm thinking about some of my constituents who are boxed out of home ownership in the Bay Area and maybe are looking for something to buy, and they're not going to rent it because they would have their elderly parents living there or something like that. So they might buy one of these inexpensive homes someplace else. So I'm just still in search of how do we get it into the focus on the lower income families who really intend to have the whole family live there, and they're, perhaps income qualified, and they would be first-time home buyers. I like the first-time home buyer part of it because ostensibly that would prevent the homes from being bundled and sold on the secondary market. But I just still wonder how all this will work. And then also under 2636.3 C, the conditions that would require the property owner to notify the assessor or the other responsible officer that there have been these changes in the property. How would the property owner, I guess the property owner would know if their property is being rented. But I do want to very strongly support the concept, but I'm still a little bit in search of how this would all work. And so you're going to go to natural resources first. Has the bill already been set there?
There has not, I don't believe there has been a specific hearing date. No, I've been having communications with their consultants about specifically when. I believe we are anticipating within the first 2 weeks of April that it will be heard.
Okay, and then rev and tax, and I think there would be more detail to it at that point, most likely, because the consultants will have a lot of ideas for you.
Yes.
So I'm sorry this isn't a question. It's more just a reaction in my own searching in my mind for how to get a really good handle on a great concept. So thank you.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate your comments. And I think that's why, it's so valuable to have these conversations about where are we going. And I think the mobile home piece is something that is, very important to think about as well. Obviously, it's not specifically stated in the bill right now, but I think that's something that we could look at, that if how the bill is written right now, that mobile homes wouldn't be included, then would be happy to look at potentially, putting a provision in there as well.
Great, that would be very helpful, and I don't want to get you guys triple referred, but I think that might be the only available housing at that price point.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you.
Okay, members, any other questions or comments? Sure, yes.
I'm going to take a double dip here. Now, I wonder, next month, we're meeting, our meeting time would be before the bill goes to its second committee, I believe, because if it's going to the first committee in the first 2 weeks, and then see Ms. Stowers approaching.
Yvette Stowers, our next scheduled meeting is April 29th and April 30th.
Okay. So that'll clearly be before approps. And I wonder, I don't want to signal that we're not interested in the bill or that we don't feel like the concept has a great deal of merit. But I wonder if it might be acceptable to put it over to our next meeting and stay in contact with the author and get a little more definition of it. And maybe also, at some point, I know that Rev and Tax will have a price on the mandate piece of things. So if that's acceptable to folks.
Yeah, if I could just weigh in, I think it would be helpful if we did have more information. I think in particular on the property tax deferral, because that's probably what touches us most at the Board of Equalization. I love the concept. I think it's a great bill idea, but I think if we reviewed it at our next meeting, there might be just more information that I think would be helpful in making a decision.
Yeah, of course. If you guys,
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
if you guys would have me back, I'd be happy to come back at a later date during your next hearing and, talk a little bit more about the discussions that we've been having. And I'll certainly take, all of the questions that you guys had for me today back to the member, and we will continue those conversations.
I think it would be real helpful if, when you do go back to the member, to see if he could hopefully find time in his schedule. I know it's probably real busy, to come back either on the 29th or the 30th, so we can have a little bit more of a robust discussion, because I think several of us have questions. While I think there's, in concept, there seems to be an agreement here, we just need to work out some of the details, because at the end of the day, I want to make sure it's successful, both on the exemption side and actually on the reality side, to find something at that affordable rate.
Yes, sir.
Excellent. All right, wonderful. So we're okay in deferring this and putting it on the agenda for our next
An April meeting, yeah.
April meeting. Fantastic.
All right. I look forward to it then. And yeah, we will try and get the assembly member there as well. And we will talk to you guys then.
Thank you, Mr. Matos. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members.
All right, take care. All right, this time we will move to item 10 on our agenda. And that would be, let's see. That's public comment instructions, and that would be Member Schaefer. Are you prepared to bring that forward?
Yes. First of all, I'd like to apologize for having to clutter up our agenda with it. I look at this strictly as an administrative matter, and that's Ms. Stowers' department, and we are the policy people. I became irritated a year ago when we had a story in the paper about a San Bernardino City Council lady, a black lady, who appeared to speak on the appointment of a city manager, and there was a comment waiting online anonymously who called her the N-word and told her she was a bitch and she ought to go back to where she came from. If some of these people were identified or known, they probably would not burst out like they do. I checked with the Public Utilities Commission, and I found out that they require people to sign up, but they don't enforce it. If someone says, I don't have to sign up to speak, they let them speak anyhow. I then decided Ms. Stowers wanted it to go on the agenda because she felt it was a policy matter. I said, well, I don't think it is. I think administratively, I represent 9.5 million people. When I ask you to modify the forms that we have here as to what we disclose, it's really not a policy matter. our council, I think, totally misunderstood me. They thought I was trying to change the policy that if they don't want to sign up, we let them speak. Well, no, I agree with that policy, that if they protest the signing up, we yield to them. It's just, I don't like what we say on our form. So in the form, it says here, in person, please fill out the appearance sheet. But then we go ahead and put completing a public appearance sheet is voluntary, and if you decline to fill it out, you will not be precluded from speaking. That's free legal advice. We don't have to give free legal advice to the people that want to be anonymous. I'm suspicious about the anonymous people. I think a lot of them have another agenda. So I did about a half hour worth of work. I went online and I got at least 6 different printouts of the sign-up sheet to see how other places handle it. I went to the Public Utilities Commission website. I'd been there before. I went to the UC Board of Regents website, and they just say, fill out if you want to speak. I went to the San Diego County Board of Supervisors. They say, fill out if you want to speak. I went to the Los Angeles County Board of Supervisors. They say, fill it out if you want to speak. I went to the Agricultural Association. They say, fill it out if you want to speak. I went to Assembly Policy in the Assembly, and they say, fill it out if you want to speak. They all leave it guesswork as to whether that's going to be enforced or not. I can tell you that it's not going to be enforced. If somebody who wants to be anonymous says, I'm not going to fill it out because I don't have to, we don't know what the law is, because the statute on this matter, which is Government Code Section 11124, clearly says if you want to attend the meeting, you don't have to sign up. And if there is a sign-up sheet, it has to say on it, this is optional. That's all that statute says. None of us know whether you have to identify yourself if you're going to speak. That's the unknown thing. So with due respect to our council here, I'm not fighting the way we all handle it. All agencies except us say, fill it out if you want to speak, and then we yield to them if they don't want to fill it out. I go along with that. I don't like it, but I go along with it. But what I don't like and can't stand, and I think I'm being disrespected by management here, not by my board, is that we go further and give free legal advice. We say, P.S., completing the form is voluntary, and if you will not be precluded from speaking. We don't need to give that free legal advice, and I'm also very unhappy that I gave these 6 examples in my letterhead to my colleagues, and I sent it to her to go on the agenda for today. I also said if you decide that it's an administrative matter and just go ahead and do it administratively and make our little sheet like all the other agencies, and I gave her the 6 examples, then I'll withdraw it. Well, I never heard anything back, and it got on the agenda with nothing but what you see in your book here, just that I'm going to speak on it today. I talked to her yesterday. I said, do we have those 6 copies of what the other agencies are doing, how they just merely say, sign up if you're going to speak. They don't go ahead with this free legal advice that we do. And she said, no, that wasn't included. And I asked her, I said, well, could I get you to include it with our docket tomorrow, or I can include it? And she said, well, I could include it. Well, I couldn't find it. I think when I sent the 6 pages to her, if I had printed out a set, I must have given them to Cody. So I'm asking you to take a look at this notice of public meeting, and it says, in person, completed public comment on the appearance sheet at the meeting. That's all we need to say. That's all that these 6 other agencies say. We have to stop saying completing a public comment appearance sheet is voluntary, and speakers who decline to fill out an appearance sheet will not be precluded from speaking. That's a statement of what is happening in a matter of practice. That's not a statement of the law. No court, nobody else. If you call up the First Amendment Committee and discuss this as I have, they say that we feel that we have a right to speak, but all the forms just merely say, fill out the form. That's all we're going to do here is say, fill out the form. If somebody wants to argue with us, then they win the argument. I don't like it, but I agree with that, and I don't want you to think I'm disagreeing with that and trying to change the way the 8 agencies or the 6 agencies do. What we need to do is we need to have a court of competent jurisdiction, just simply say that it's vague, and all that statute says is you can come to the meeting and be anonymous. It doesn't say you can get up and speak. See, when they get up to speak, they know who I am. They know who every public official is. I think if we knew who they were, they could be lying to us, but if we knew who they were, they're less likely to start calling names like happened in this meeting here. And since then, there's been a number of other people that have been bad actors at meetings. And I'll bet you all the bad actors are anonymous. And I think we have to strike a blow for making people who come before us and have our name and address, we have to strike a blow by suggesting that they sign up. It's okay if we don't enforce it, but it's not okay that we give free legal advice. We're the only agency in California giving free legal advice. And Ms. Taylor, when she reads it, she only reads the, fill it in, and that's all she reads. She doesn't go ahead and say, I'm only kidding. But this document here that's online today, and it's in my booklet today, goes ahead with the free legal advice, and that's very upsetting to me. And I also don't think it belongs on the agenda. I think it's just a matter of the stars would have said, well, I see none of the other agencies of government bother to tell the anonymous person that if you want to object, you're going to win. Only
Okay,
we're
now we
the
have a
ones who do that.
comment. Could we hear from Vice Chair Lieber?
I have a question.
Oh, I would like your
question.
comment. I'm tired
Good.
of doing all the speaking.
Wonderful.
Give me a rest.
Oh, I have a question for Mr. Moon. And now we're calling on people. I think that it's the case that in a previous meeting, one of the meetings where we talked about this before, that you had mentioned that there were certain court decisions that supported not requiring individuals to identify themselves as a condition of exercising their free speech. Can you refresh our memory a little bit about that?
I'd be happy to. Actually, before I get into that, maybe if I could just sort of put this all in context.
Please.
So the reason why this is on the agenda is for a couple of reasons. One is because although Mr. Schaefer has some explicit ideas of what he'd like to see on the website vis-a-vis these comments, the executive director typically does not take direction from one member of the board. And so if this were going to be a change, especially where this topic has already been brought to the board a couple times before, out of respect to the other board members, now I'm speaking a little bit for Ms. Stowers, but I believe she wanted to show the proper respect to all of the board members rather than to just a single board member. And so that's why it's on the agenda here today, especially because everybody has heard this a couple times. And if there was going to be some change, although perhaps not even to the policy, but to the written guidance that would give people insight into what the board was thinking or attempting to do, that would be important for the board to hear again. As you all know, we've heard this issue raised a couple times before, and at the first meeting that it was raised, Mr. Schaefer's belief that public commenters be required to identify themselves resulted in the board as a whole asking the legal department to provide a report. We provided that report, and in that report, we concluded that anonymous public comment should be allowed for various reasons, including that we thought it was the best interpretation of the Bagley-Keene Act and of the Attorney General's opinions. And in one of those opinions, they went into detail about free speech implications. And what they had essentially concluded was that a public meeting would be a public forum, and in those public forums, there are certain free speech rights that should be interpreted broadly under Bagley-Keene. And so in order to squelch those free speech rights, there would need to be a compelling state interest. And in that opinion, we had said that we don't believe that there is such a compelling state interest to do that. But even apart from the free speech issues, the board has said time and time again, I think Ms. Lieber even mentioned it again during today's opening comments, that the board was interested in maximizing transparency and in participation of the public. And again, in that legal opinion, it pointed out that the board's historic practice for at least the past 20 years has been to allow anonymous public comment and to keep the materials there, or I should say those materials have been there for at least 2015 and likely very, very much longer than that. And so after the report, what the board had done was decided not to take any particular action, leaving that policy in place to allow the public comment and not requesting or desiring, or at least signaling a board's, total board's desire to change anything on the website or on any of our materials. And so that's why nothing's been changed right now. And so if the board were now to change that language that it had discussed at 2 different meetings and had talked about wanting to maximize transparency and public participation, the concern would be that such a change would be inconsistent with those prior board discussions, and it would be somehow perhaps viewed as a message that's contrary to the one that you've publicly stated in wanting to maximize participation and transparency. So.
No,
Okay.
If I may just
One more comment.
continue, can you amplify for us how the court decisions work into that equation?
Yeah, so in a couple ways. So the specific free speech cases to which you refer, as I said, require a compelling state interest in a public forum. A compelling state interest, again, we felt did not exist here because people, whether they state their names or not, the whole purpose for the board's hearing those public comments is for the board to make a decision, for the board to hear guidance and information that will help them make decisions. And whether somebody gives their name or not, it's not going to affect that. So in other words, a prohibition against anonymous public comment doesn't further the board's interest or ability to hear information or not information, or at least I should say it doesn't squelch it. It may actually hamper it. And so that's how the free speech cases play into sort of all of this. The Attorney General's opinion that talked about the free speech cases also talk about the Bagley-Keene Act in general, and what it says, to summarize, is that when there are rules that expand rights, then those statutes should be viewed expansively. And so the statute that Mr. Schaefer brings up about attendance of a meeting, you don't have to identify yourself to attend a meeting, he's absolutely correct that it only explicitly says attend. But the Attorney General's office has interpreted that in their versions of their Bagley-Keene guidance, that includes speaking at a public meeting as well. And so that was one of the things that we had looked at very carefully in rendering that opinion a couple months ago.
Okay, great, yes.
If I may, I'll just ask a real quick one. I still have it. So if we, this is agendized for discussion and possible action. So we are free to have a motion that says that we affirm our current practice of advising the public about their right to contribute their testimony to the meeting without identifying themselves.
Yes, that's correct.
That would be in order. Okay, thank you.
I'd like to say that I agree with whatever Mr. Moon has been saying. I'm not in opposition to him. I don't like the idea that we let the anonymous people always win if they don't want to disclose. I know that I don't like it, but I go along with it, so I'm not opposing him. What I'm opposing him is I know of 6 different agencies like ourselves, and we're the only one that puts in the yellow language and gives the free legal advice to the anonymous. All the other people, I've gone to the 22nd Different Agriculture Association, and I've gone to the Board of Regents, and they all have a form like this that just says, complete the thing. And I've asked them, what if they don't want to complete it? Well, we don't enforce it. We don't enforce it because of what he says. So I agree with the Attorney General's opinion that the anonymous people are going to win. What I don't like is of all these agencies looked at, we're the only one that says, P.S., this really doesn't have any teeth. Now,
But, okay, if I could
Mr.
just comment to that, because we've set a precedent, so, right? I mean, we've done this for 20 years.
That's
So-
correct. That has been the board's historic practice, and it's been the board's historic published or written guidance as well. I would also remind the board that I'm not aware of any incidents or problems with anonymous speakers that this board has had. Even if someone were to be disruptive, the chair would still have the power to cut that person off. For example, if they were to start speaking about something outside of our jurisdiction, outside of our subject matter, something irrelevant, the chair would have the absolute ability to cut that off.
How about if there were a threat?
If there were a,
If someone made a threat, and
Yes,
they
of
didn't
course.
disclose who they were,
yes,
would we have access to finding that individual in the event that they didn't make a threat against someone at the Board of Equalization?
It's a very good question, sir. It's been my experience when someone has threatened an elected official, we will immediately contact state police, and they would do their best to trace it.
Right, or
So-
even staff?
Even, yeah, well, staff will step down. If the
Yeah.
staff is threatened, absolutely,
Both,
yeah.
yeah.
We're all protected, yeah.
Okay, and I would imagine that the moderator would probably have access to that phone number because it's a call-in. So we could ultimately find out who that individual was in the event that it rose to a certain level that it needed to be
that
acted
level, and then
upon.
they will trace it,
Yes.
and the police will pay that person a
Okay,
visit.
all right. Thank you. And I think Deputy Controller Emron wanted to make a comment?
Yes, very quickly. Mike, I appreciate you bringing this forward, and I understand what you're coming from in removing racist and hateful comments that can come lurking its dark head. But I do believe that the policy as is pretty sound, and then we have the discretion of the chair as well to cut off any comments that may or may not be of a certain standard. We've dealt with similar issues at the Franchise Tax Board, and that's been our directive, and it's worked out very well so far. So if Member Lieber is going to put a motion on the floor, I'm going to support that. Thank you.
Wonderful. Yeah, please, Member Lieber.
Thank you. Well, I would like to move that we affirm our current practice of advising the public of their right to make comments anonymously pursuant to Bagley-Keene.
Okay, we have
I
a
have a
motion.
question. Does that include asking Ms. Taylor when she says sign up, that she start saying, if you don't want to, you don't have to? I mean, I think she hadn't been doing that for the last year or two, and I've been very pleased that she does it like all the other agencies of government. It's only the printed form that I passed around that annoys me, and I've only become upset when I've been seeing big news stories about abuses by anonymous people. I don't know if we can cure the abuses, but we could make a little step in that direction. I think what's needed is the courts to look at the statute and say yes or no, it does include the right to enter and the right to speak. I'd like to see a decision clarify that, but we don't have that yet.
Well, we're right in the middle of a motion, so.
I'd like to second that motion, please. Thank you.
Okay. All right,
So we're going to
wonderful.
have a
Okay.
different,
Now,
different
discussion?
discussion of a different announcement by Ms. Taylor than we've had for the last 6 months or so. We want her to add the yellow language to her presentation.
We'll hear from Ms. Dowers.
Members, excuse me, Yvette Stowers again. It may be helpful to know, although Ms. Taylor doesn't say that verbally when she asks for public comment, it is on our hard copy public comment sheet that's at the front desk. And it's the same language that Mr. Shaper is taking exception to, but it's there. So we're consistent across the board, whether it's on our website or it's in the auditorium. And as a side note, I would say we're also consistent with our sister agency, the Franchise Tax Board. I double-checked with them, and their chief counsel confirmed they do the same thing, and they've been doing it for at least 20 years.
And we did have someone actually speak at our last Franchise Tax Board meeting that had to be, some of the comments were getting inappropriate and had to step in. And,
Yep, we have that same protocol here. We will give you the look. We will take care of the AT&T operator.
Yes.
And I think we've done it as a board. This board, we've had some inappropriate comments, and we were able to
Yes.
turn them down.
Yes, okay, very well. Yes,
And just for the sake of consistency, I think the announcement that we make verbally at the beginning of the meeting that goes out to potential AT&T commenters could also have that language, perhaps? And then we'll be all consistent across the board with our written forms, our web form, and all the good things. And I think that'll help us to not get the testimony from Donald Duck and Mickey Mouse and all the strange things that people try to put into and I'm picking two totally clean examples, but there are many other of those cropping up. Thank you.
okay, that's great. Okay, so I just want to comment that I appreciate this being brought up on the agenda for further clarification by Member Schaefer. But in my opinion, I think we're okay, and I think we're following precedents, and there also seems to be legal justification based on the research that's been done, and I don't see a problem here, so I don't see a reason to make any change. So that's my perspective. Any other comments before we go to a vote? Okay, all right, seeing none, we will ask for public comment. We do not have any written comments, and no one in the auditorium wishes to make a public comment on this agenda item. Therefore, we'll go to the AT&T moderator, AT&T moderator, please let us know if anyone is on the telephone line and would like to make a public comment regarding this item on the agenda.
Thank you. For public comment, please press 1 then 0 at this time. 1 followed by 0. And we have no public comment at this time.
Great, thank you, moderator. Member Vice Chair Lieber has made a motion can you clarify your motion, would you mind?
I can repeat it if you'd like.
Or if you could recite it, yeah, that'd be great.
Yes, I can. Affirm the board's current practice of advising the public of their right to make comments anonymously pursuant to Bagley-Keene.
Wonderful. And Deputy Controller Emron has made a second to the motion. Ms. Cicchetti, please call the roll.
Chairman Gaines,
Aye?
Vice Chair Lieber,
Aye.
Member Vasquez,
Aye.
Member Schaefer,
Nay. No,
you said no?
no, and I'd like a copy of that resolution if I could get it. Thank you.
Deputy Controller Emron.
Aye.
Okay, the motion passes. Thank you, members. Now move on to agenda item 11, which is Senate Bill 663 by Senator Allen, Winter Fires of 2025, Real Property Tax Exemptions and Reassessment. And Mr. Vasquez is presenting this item.
Members, at the last meeting, we had a discussion about this, and I don't think we didn't invite anybody at this point since the senator was here at the last meeting. I just wanted to thank the Chair Gaines, and I wanted to bring this bill back up for the board support after last month's informational hearing during the Senator Allen's described the bill and what it is aiming to achieve. The center has worked closely with Los Angeles County Assessor Prang to address the specific needs of the county, including, one, extending the deadline for taxpayers to file claims for reassessment from 12 months to 24 months. Two, extending the 5-year rebuild requirement to 8 years for properties that qualify to continue the base year value of destroyed property. And three, allowing properties which previously qualified for the welfare exemption to continue to qualify through 2033 or until the property is rebuilt. I think that there is some room for additional relief measures, including some aspects that are not included in AB 245, which was the Gibson bill we heard earlier. But I wholeheartedly support this bill, as it is believed that the board should make it clear that we're supporting those wildfire victims moving forward. There's a lot of similarities to what we heard earlier from Assemblymember Gibson's bill. The only real difference, I think, is Gibson's bill specifically targets the lien date, going from January 1st and extending it out. And with that, I will just open it up for any comments or questions you may have.
Well, yeah, we heard this bill earlier, and I'm in support of it. I think it's targeting the right areas in terms of trying to provide relief of the fire victims, and I'm ready to move forward. Any other comments? Yeah, Vice Chair Lieber.
I think from my perspective, representing Ventura County, a very important difference to me is the coverage of Ventura County as well. And I'm sure that Mr. Gibson will include that in his bill because it's been a very difficult year for not just Los Angeles, but also sections of Ventura County. And so I appreciate the inclusion of Ventura.
Good. Wonderful. Other comments or discussion? Okay. Thank you, Member Vasquez.
With that, I would just, I'm sorry,
okay.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to make one. Yeah, please.
Sorry, members. Just one quick comment. Ted Angelo with the Legislative Division. I just wanted to be clear that a third provision of the bill extends property tax exemptions for the religious charitable. If that wasn't covered or I missed it, it is a technical way. They're already exempt.
Yes.
So it's just providing the fact that they remain exempt and then has an extended date on that. So
Exactly.
if you said that, I'm sorry I missed that. I just wanted to be clear that it isn't providing a new one. It's just providing the statutory framework to continue what would be
welfare
existing there.
exemptions, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if a school had one before, but they decide they're not going to rebuild a school there, then it won't have it in the future once that property is sold and reassessed. So
Wonderful.
There are different factors at play there, so.
Thanks for the clarification.
Sorry to interject.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Angelo. Okay.
So with that, I guess I would just make the motion that we go on record as supporting SB 663, Senator Ben Allen's bill.
All right, great, wonderful. So we have a motion and a second. Let's look at public comments. We do not have any written comments, and no one in the auditorium wishes to make a public comment on this agenda item. Therefore, let's go to the AT&T moderator. AT&T moderator, please let us know if anyone is on the telephone line and would like to make a public comment regarding this item on the agenda.
And please press 1 then 0 for public comments at this time. 1, that's 0. And we have no public comments at this time.
Okay. Member Vasquez has made a motion for the board to support Senate Bill 663 with Vice Chair Lieber seconding. Ms. Cicchetti, please call the roll.
Chairman Gaines?
Aye.
Vice Chair Lieber?
Aye.
Member Vasquez?
Aye.
Member Schaefer?
Aye?
Deputy Controller Emron?
Abstain.
Okay, the motion passes. Thank you. Members, we're now going to move to item 16. Okay, these are board member matters. California Assessors Association legislative agendas. And Mr. Vasquez will be presenting this item.
Thank you, Chair Gaines. Members, in our discussion a couple times with the assessors, now that Jeff Prang is the president, he's no longer the legislative chair of the Association of Assessors. The new chair is now the Honorable Joaquin Torres from San Francisco, who wanted to be, he's actually here at the Capitol, and they have their lobby day going on right now as we speak, and wanted to come, but as it turned out, I mean, good thing for him, they were able to book meetings with all the legislators that they needed to see, so he wasn't able to physically be here, but I understand he did a recording for us, and we're going to hear it. I guess it'll be on the screen here in a minute, and then take any comments or suggestions. Oh, here he is. Go ahead.
Hello, and thank you for the opportunity to present the California Assessors Association's legislative priorities and work. I'm Joaquin Torres, the San Francisco Assessor Recorder, and I'm also the chair of the California Assessor Association's Legislative Committee for this 25-26 term. The California Assessors Association is a nonprofit organization representing the 58 elected county assessors across California. Established in 1902, our mission is to foster collaboration among California's assessors, advocate for improvements to assessment procedures and laws for the public good, and to serve as a liaison with both state agencies and legislators. Our legislative committee plays a key role in reviewing and monitoring proposed legislation that could impact property assessment and taxation. First, I want to share with you some of the approaches that we take when bills are introduced as part of our bill review process. We evaluate the bills through a very specific set of critical criteria. The first is clarity. Is the language precise and easily implementable? Second is legality. Does it align with constitutional requirements and existing legal frameworks? The third is consistency with revenue and taxation code. Does the bill align with established assessment principles? The next is administrative feasibility. Can our offices implement the bill without causing undue strain? And finally, impact to property owners and partner agencies. Does the bill minimize and address unnecessary burdens? Ultimately, across these areas, we seek legislation that strikes a balance between protecting taxpayer interests, ensuring practical, feasible implementation, and fully achieving the legislative intent of the bill. I now want to go into talking about bills of interest for the association. While many of these bills are still in the spot bill phase, meaning we don't have substantive language to fully respond to, we're actively tracking around 40 bills right now and monitoring several pieces of legislation with potential impact on assessment practices. If you have questions about that full list, we would be very glad to share our tracking list with you. And I want to highlight a few that are currently of particular interest. The first is Senate Bill 296 from Senator Smallwood Cuevas. This bill proposes reassessment exclusions for tenant cooperatives. It's modeled after mobile home park provisions. However, the language of the bill is currently written, we find to be vague and ambiguous, and that could create some significant implementation challenges. But we are in conversations with the author and sponsor to see how we can best address those issues. The next is Senate Bill 336 from Senator Wiener. Now, this bill aims to expand welfare exemptions for moderate income households. That's focused on the area median income, AMI, of 80 to 120%. That is currently not contemplated by the welfare exemption process. We are working with the sponsor to include mechanisms for regular monitoring, verification, and reporting to ensure the legislation meets its intended goals while also aligning with existing oversight processes. The third bill is AB 343 from Assemblymember Pacheco. This bill amends the California Public Records Act, which could significantly affect public access to records. We're closely monitoring this legislation to understand its full impact on transparency and public access as it seeks to increase public safety for particular parties. We're engaged with the authors and sponsors to ensure these bills are consistent with existing law and that they can be effectively and efficiently implemented by assessors' offices statewide. Now, I want to talk about some of the positions that we've taken as an association to date. As of this month, we've formally taken 2 support positions on significant bills. Both of those bills provide clear and actionable language that aligns with legal requirements and enhances consistency in applications statewide. The first bill that we're supporting is Senate Bill 663 from Senator Ben Allen. This is in response to the wildfires of Southern California. This bill provides tax administration relief for those impacted by the 2025 wildfires in Los Angeles and Ventura counties. It will enable assessors to offer timely relief and create streamlined processes for disaster reassessments, ensuring there's a simple process for property owners to the extent feasible so they can receive the support they need, especially during a difficult time such as this. The second is Senate Bill 296 from Senator Bob Archuleta that we're supporting. This bill expands veterans exemptions, maintaining consistency with existing exemption frameworks while also streamlining processes. It supports our commitment to fair and equitable assessment practices, and it also honors the service of our veterans. I just want to thank you for your interest and consideration of our legislative priorities, the process that we undertake when we're doing bill review. And we very much look forward to ongoing dialogue. Again, we're present in legislator offices all day today during our annual Ledge Day to make sure that assessors are able to meet directly with sponsors of bills that have our eyes on them, and also to share concerns or observations about other bills that might be coming before legislators. We always look forward to the collaboration as we continue to advocate for policies that serve both the public good and the practical needs of assessors' offices across the state. I want to thank you for your time, and I look forward to working and being in communication with you shortly.
Thank you. It's a shame we don't have a chance to interact with them, but as I was listening to the bills, it looks like it's pretty much in line with the ones we supported, with the exception of SB 296, that we haven't heard from yet. But it sounds like they're kind of monitoring that one. And I guess the only recommendation I would make is, and I guess it's something maybe I'll bring up when we hear the report from our ledge person, Ted, a little bit later here, of some of the other bills that we should kind of monitor and follow a little bit closely as they move forward through the process. But with that, let me open it up and see if there's any comments or questions or suggestions on what we heard so far.
No, I think that it was interesting how we've aligned with
Right.
what they've supported. Yeah. Yeah, good.
Go ahead. I
Any
think
other
the vice chair
comments?
had something.
Yes, please.
One bill that I was hoping to get some input on from Assessor Torres is SB 592. That's by Senator Smallwood Cuevas. And this is a bill regarding community land trust networks and their proposal to exclude a transfer of property to a tenant-controlled nonprofit or cooperative or to a community land trust from reassessment of the property value for tax purposes. So it's something that I would be interested in seeing a little bit more information about, maybe in the time that elapses between this meeting and our next one. We'll get a little bit more of a bead. I know that I can take responsibility for researching it a bit, and I guess it's going to be up in Senate Rev and Tax on April 9th, and is also double referred to Judish. So as things are developing, we can put together a little more information on that.
I guess he's got two bills. I noticed he mentioned also SB 296 as well.
Yeah,
Again, Ted Angelo with the Ledge Office. On 592, the Smallwood Cuevas bill, we're going to be having a conversation with the sponsors. So we'll be gathering some more information on the goals of the legislation, because it is complex when you're talking about community land trust statutes, what exists currently now for the welfare exemptions, mixed use provisions where some tenants qualify and others don't. What they're looking to do is prevent reassessment when these transfers occur, given certain conditions. It's very complex, so I can't speak on it now, but I thought I would just give you a flavor for what they're trying to achieve. And we're in the process of analyzing the bill and speaking with the sponsors to get more background on the proposal.
great, thank you. And our office can also provide you with the individuals who have come forward in our district to raise the issue with us, just in the interest and openness. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Other questions, comments?
I think we're good.
All right. Thank you, Member Vasquez. And we do not have any written comments, and no one in the auditorium wishes to make a public comment on this agenda item. Therefore, let's go to the AT&T moderator. AT&T moderator, please let us know if anyone is on the telephone line would like to make a public comment regarding this item on the agenda.
And please press 1 then 0 if you have a public comment at this time. 1 then 0. And we have no public comments at this time.
Okay, thank you, moderator. Next item is item 17, Executive Director's Report. Ms. Stowers.
Good afternoon, Chairman Gaines, honorable
afternoon.
members. For the record, my name is Yvette Stowers, Executive Director. For today's meeting, I would like to report on a few events recently attended by BOE and then highlight dates on the horizon. The first event I'd like to report on was the California Taxpayers Association Caltax Foundation 2025 webinar panel titled Navigating Disaster Tax Relief, Supporting Taxpayers in Challenging Times. The panel discussion was held on February 27th, along with representatives from FTB, CDTFA, Caltex, and Spidell California Tax Letter. Ms. Carolyn Steeman, Principal Property Appraiser from BOE's Property Tax Department, provided an overview of tax relief options and strategies for taxpayers impacted by natural disasters. The webinar is posted on YouTube and is available for a resource for taxpayers and the general public. We'd like to thank Caltex for inviting BOE to participate in this important outreach event. Next, members, as you know, on March 6th, the BOE participated at the annual California Taxpayers Association 99th Annual Meeting. As always, we appreciate the invitation to attend this meeting. As the Executive Director, I joined the leadership from FTB, CDTFA, and OTA on a panel discussion titled An Update on California Tax Administration and Appeals. This year, there was great discussion on many topics affecting property tax, and it provided an excellent opportunity to connect and interact with our stakeholders. We also had the pleasure of a great MC, Deputy Controller Imran, to select the best question. Did a wonderful job. Again, we would like to thank Caltex for including the Board of Equalization in this annual event. Finally, members, I'd like to highlight the upcoming Bay Area Association's annual regional conference. The conference will be held on the 21st to the 23rd of April in Napa County, hosted by Napa County Assessor, Recorder, County Clerk John Tudor. I will continue to keep your office up to date on details of these events, of these upcoming events. Members, that conclude my report for item number 17. My executive team will provide updates on projects and operational priorities in their respective areas. Thank you, and I'm available to answer any questions that you may have.
All right, any questions? Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to thank you, Executive Director Stowers, as well. It's a great opportunity, 99th anniversary for Caltex. And next year's 100 years, and I think it's important for the Board of Equalization to be there present in person. I think I got the dates, February 24th.
We have the dates on our calendar. I think you're right, it's February.
Because we usually had breakfast with the BOE, and for whatever reasons, it got, now
They
it's breakfast with the
changed their
assessor.
format this year, and either due to scheduling conflicts, I'm not really quite sure, but it's generally a breakfast in the morning with the board members.
Hopefully 100 years back on, I think it's important.
Yeah. I will speak with the president and give you guys the dates well in advance so that everybody can be available.
Yes.
That'd be amazing.
Very
Thank
good.
you. And then one other question I had for you, Executive Director. There's this County Assessors Information Technology Grant Program, and this board advocated for it in, I believe, 2022 with the governor's administration. It was a 3-year, $30 million grant. And now we're in our last year, 2025 is in our last year. And there's been talks about extending this grant. And I'm sure the assessors are also very happy about it. But with that comes this idea of showing data and numbers and what that money was used for to impact. And I know there's been some annual reports brought forward each year as a reporting requirement on that. And I was just hoping that we can get some type of report out in the coming months about the successes, the failures of this program, what can be done, what can be better, what money was used for what technology programs, and what gaps still exist with rural counties compared to major metropolitan counties.
I can check with the association and see if they're willing to present that, because I do not have it.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's a great point that Deputy Controller Emron brought up in terms of making sure we're tracking that and then making sure that the money available is being used too. So would we be getting an update, and would that come from the California Association of Assessors?
It will have to come for them. They
Yeah.
formed their separate joint power authority.
Okay.
So they will have all that information that Mr. Imran is asking about.
Understood. We were the ones that advocated for it, so I'm just kind of seeing like, is it linear, is it parallel? But my understanding, this board secured that money, so I'm just hoping if we go back to the governor's office and the administration and we ask for another extension, 3 years, 30 million, we're able to just show them.
I'm sure we'll be able
Absolute
to
data.
show the process, the progress that they have made. And I don't see where the JPA will not want to share their success.
That'd be great if you can get that on calendar
I can
in the
see
next couple months.
next couple of months.
Okay, wonderful. Any other comments?
I had a question.
Yes, Member Schaefer.
Yeah. Ms. Stars, when will we next be able to meet with our assessors? They have their annual meeting. Is that it, or is there another event?
Okay, so we have the conference coming up in April, and there is the annual meeting. There's the annual meeting, most likely in November, and that's, I believe, in Tahoe. And then we have our annual assessor meeting, and it's generally scheduled for September or October. I don't have my calendar in front of me, but Mary is shaking her head. But if you like, I will send you the calendar again.
Okay, that'd be fine. And do you have the 6 copies of the disclosure from the other counties that I sent you? If you have, I'd like you to scan them to me because I couldn't find
I
them.
don't have that. I believe that you sent that information to me on your personal email account, so I did not retain it.
Okay, I'll look it up again then, thank you.
Okay, we're ready for our next item, item 18, extension of time to complete local assessment roll.
Okay, so item 18, members, Revenue and Taxation Code Section 616 requires county assessors to annually complete their local assessment roll by July 1st. Section 155 provides that the board or its executive director may extend by 30 days the deadline for an official act by the assessor. In the case of public calamity, the deadline may be extended by 40 days. Section 155 also requires that the executive director inform the board of any such extension at its next regular meeting. This report is to inform you that Los Angeles County and St. Louis Obispo County assessors have requested and have been granted extension for completing their 2025 local assessment rolls. That concludes my report. I'm available to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions? No? Okay, thank you. So item 19, operational priorities report presented by Ms. Renati. Hello.
Good afternoon, Chairman Gaines and honorable members. For the record, I am Lisa Renati, Chief Deputy Director. Today, I'll report on some of the agency's strategic efforts on BOE's workforce. The first is our recruitments. We continue to actively fill our remaining vacancies, and since our last meeting, we filled 3 positions. One is an employee new to the Board of Equalization, and 2 are promotions of internal candidates. Our management team keeps doing an amazing job. They have continued to recruit and fill our vacant positions, and as such, we maintain a vacancy rate consistently of under 10%. So we're doing very well. The next item relates to our unfunded liabilities due to large leave balances for vacation and annual leave. When employees leave state service, they separate from the agency, for retirement, we must compensate those employees for all the unused vacation and annual leave balances they have. And as a small agency, when we can be really affected by these payments, especially when an employee has a large balance. So to handle this, implement the leave reduction management plans for all employees. It's a statewide policy in California that people ensure that they keep their vacation or annual leave balances under the limit. And the cap limits are in the memorandum of understanding for represented employees. For all others, the amount is 640 hours. So as of December 31st, employees are supposed to keep no more than 640 hours. So in an effort to encourage a healthy work-life balance and to comply with the maximum limits per CalHR, we have sent out and asked all employees that are close to the limit, over the limit, to make sure to make a leave reduction plan. And so those are in process right now, and most people have complied and taking those vacation, putting them on the calendar, and making sure that we can still have our operational needs met. So this concludes my report. If you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them. Mr. Schaefer. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not. You're the chairman, not me.
Schaefer.
Mr. Roddy, we've all read about the slashes being made in the federal government by the present administration. I wonder if any of these federal government employees are savvy about assessment. Maybe we might be able to find some talent that we might hire from the federal government that is cutting back.
That's a great point, and that's why we continue our recruitment. And we keep using the social media posts, LinkedIn. We are reaching out to associations in every group that we can. And if we can get that great talent here, that'd be fantastic.
Thank you.
Great. Any other questions? Thank you, Ms.
Thank
Renati.
you.
Appreciate it. Now, members, I'm showing on the agenda a break, but we're also getting close to completions. Can we just continue? All right. So we're going to move to item 20, Taxpayer Rights Advocate Office's report presented by Ms. Thompson. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chairman Gaines and honorable board members. I'm Lisa Thompson, Chief of the Taxpayer Rights Advocate Office, for the record. Today, I will provide you an update on the activities of the Taxpayer Rights Advocate Office to keep you informed. I'm pleased to provide you with statistics on the number of completed cases from the TRA office last month, and we completed 33 in total. 9 were in Chairman Gaines's district, District 1, 9 in Vice Chair Lieber's district, District 2, 11 in Board Member Vasquez's district, District 3, and 4 were in Board Member Schaefer's district, District 4. 7 were in the administrative category, 26 in the valuation category. The memo that is attached to the PAN does outline all of the details within those categories. However, the topic with the highest number of cases in the administrative category was penalty and penalty cancellation with 2 completed cases. And the valuation category had the highest number topic, which with 9 cases for exclusions for reassessment, followed closely by exemptions with 6 completed cases. Of those 9 exclusion cases, 3 were from transfers for parents and children, 5 were base year value transfers for seniors, and 1 case was for the new construction exclusion after disaster relief. Of the 6 exemption cases, 3 involved the welfare exemption, 1 involved the homeowner's exemption, 1 the disabled veterans exemption, and then the remaining 1 covering general exemptions that could be available to seniors. And that concludes my update. I am available to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Ms. Thompson. Members, any questions? Yes, okay.
I did have one. It's the first time I've seen it. It's the access to data request. Can you explain what that means?
Well, it kind of varies, access to data. But sometimes, I'm trying to think of what the specific one was for this one. But it could be like how they're requesting information. It could be, if they need to direct it specifically to the tax collector's office versus the assessor's office. So it kind of covers a variety. I'm sorry, I don't remember exactly which one this one was, but it doesn't really fit into the other categories. But it might be just they're interested in finding some information, such as, I guess actually I can recall this one, was a taxpayer can access their own information. So under the law, they're allowed to have access to their own property record, their appraisal record, or any information that's kept on their property pertaining to the assessment of the records. But what happens if you were to sell your property, you don't own it anymore, you actually don't have access to your record. So that was this particular case.
Understood.
So we
Thank you.
had to unfortunately tell them, sorry, that the assessor would be prohibited from providing it to them.
I
Right.
appreciate your explanation. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Ms. Thompson.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Next item, number 21, Property Tax Deputy Director's Report. Mr. Young.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman Gaines, honorable members of the board. My name is David Young, and I'm the Deputy Director of the Property Tax Department. For you today, I have 3 reports. The first one will be letters to assessors, followed by a report on our training and certification. Both of those will be given by Ms. Lauren Keach. And the last report will be what's going on in the State Assessed Properties Division, and that will be by Mr. McCool. But before I turn it over to them, if you will allow me, I would like to follow up on a couple items. A question was asked about Caltax's 100th year anniversary meeting. That will be held in Sacramento, February 24th next year, 2026. So that's the date. The other one I wanted just to do a very quick follow-up on, and we'll be more than happy to track down some more specific information, is the technology project that Deputy Controller asked about, and that is handled by the CAA's JPA IT. They set up a special group in order to handle that. There are 2 main things that they're working on: is 1, electronic signatures, and 2, how to go ahead and implement certain base year transfers for Prop 19. They're hard at work at that right now. I believe they're either just about to or have already released the request for proposal for a vendor on that. So they are working on it. They're making good progress. So And then the very last thing I wanted to follow up on, Vice Chair Lieber, you asked about SB 592. The intent of that bill is to basically allow rental property that is going to be either sold or purchased by either a co-op, a limited equity co-op, or a CLT, a community land trust, to go ahead and take ownership of it, buy it, without subjecting that property to reassessment if certain conditions are met. And the main condition is that if it is a limited equity co-op or a cooperative or a land trust, that at least 51% ownership of that entity were tenants prior. So if residences buy it and take it under a new form, it's not reassessed right away. And what they're doing is they're following a model that has worked for basically mobile home parks. A lot of mobile home parks have gone cooperatives. People are living there. They have their mobile home on a rented space. They go ahead and they try to buy the park. And when they buy the park, because it's a change in ownership under Prop 13, it's all reassessed and the taxes go higher. So it's worked for mobile home parks. This is the model they want to follow. So the language is out. I've taken a look at it. There's probably going to be some more discussion on it in the future. I wanted to let you know. So if you any questions before I turn over to the next three reports? No. Then I will turn it over to Ms. Lauren Keach for the next two.
Great. Thank
Of
you for the
course.
clarifications. Great. Lauren Keach, how are you?
Hello, good afternoon, Chairman Gaines and honorable board members. I'm Lauren Keach, Chief of the County Assessed Properties Division. Today I will provide a brief report on letters to assessors. Attached to this month's agenda is a memo on letters to assessors, which provides a list of the LTAs issued since the last board meeting and a link to the BOE's website where a list of all LTAs issued to date can be found. As of the date of the attached memo, BOE staff has issued a total of 8 LTAs for calendar year 2025, and since the report at the last board meeting in January. Those 8 LTAs are summarized in order as follows. The first LTA is to issue the property tax forms list, an LTA to announce the Colusa County Assessment Practices Survey, an LTA for a report on budget, personnel, and appeals data for 2023-24, and roll data for 2024-25, an LTA on evaluation of certificated aircraft California standard flight times, an LTA to announce the Fresno County Assessment Sampling Survey, an LTA to issue the report on 2024 state assessed property appeals, an LTA to announce the Butte County Assessment Practices Survey, and lastly, an LTA to report on the intergenerational transfer exclusion, adjustment of the $1 million amount. And this concludes my report on letters to assessors. I'm available to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Ms. Keach. Members, any questions? Yes.
Just a quick one.
Ms. Vasquez.
Thank you for your report, Ms. Leach. I was just wondering on the, excuse me, on the LTA report 2025-001, can you go over the, just for the audience, I guess the difference between what they call, I guess, prescribed and recommended forms?
Yes, so this is an annual list that we issue with the current forms. It includes prescribed forms, recommended forms, as well as our own BOE program forms. So the prescribed forms are prescribed for the county assessors to use and implement. Recommended, those are not required. Those are simply recommended for their use, for their convenience, but are not required as the prescribed are.
That's what I thought. Just wanted to hear it for the record. Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. Okay, and my next report. I will now provide a brief report on the BOE's appraisal training and certification program. For the 2024-25 fiscal year, BOE staff has scheduled 32 classes and 3 webinars. In addition, 8 classes had been scheduled using instructors from county assessors' offices. Since the beginning of the fiscal year, the BOE has taught 25 classes and 2 webinars. We continue to offer our existing online basic training courses available through American River College and California State University, Sacramento, as well as online courses and self-study training sessions available on the BOE's website. This concludes my report on training and certification. I'm available to answer any questions you may have.
Great, thank you. Ms. Keach, any questions?
The quick one, I noticed in the report, you kind of go over the plans for the next fiscal year. I was just wondering if there's any new classes we are developing that haven't been taught in the past or offered, I guess.
Yes, this past fiscal year, actually, thank you for that question. We did bring back course 18 and course 28. Those had not been taught for quite some time, I believe possibly a decade or so. And with bringing on new staff, we were able to update, modernize those courses and bring them back for the first time this fiscal year. Each were scheduled to be taught 3 times, and they are being taught relatively recently, so we're still collecting the data and statistics on those. But from what I've heard so far, they've had good attendance and have been going well.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Ms. Keach.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate it, yeah. And now we have Mr. McCool.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chairman Gaines and honorable members of the board. My name is Jack McCool, Chief of the State Assessed Properties Division. Today I will provide information on the status of ongoing work in our division. SAPD has completed our annual capitalization rate study. The study encapsulates months of research and analysis from our staff. The capitalization rates will be utilized in our income approach value indicators for the upcoming unitary valuation season. The full study is available in PDF format and is available upon request. The summary pages for each industry have been placed on the BOE's open data portal and are available to anyone to view. March 1st was the last day to timely file the annual property statement. We received and processed 191 requests for extension to file. I checked this morning and we currently have 327 active companies for the year, so we have over half of our state assessees who have received an extension to file. Our unitary appraisal staff will be busy now through early May completing the unitary appraisals, which will come before the board at the May meeting. Additionally, our real property appraisers are finalizing the land values for all of our state assessed companies. The real property unit typically values about 10,000 land parcels statewide each appraisal year. They accomplish this by conducting site inspections of each state assessed land parcel, as well as potential comparable sales in order to determine the current market value for land parcels owned or used by our state assessees. And finally, our private railroad car property statements are due on April 30th, so our staff will begin work on those as we wind down the state assessed appraisal season. That concludes my report on status of ongoing work in our division for this month, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Jack McCool. Any other questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, I think we're good.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Any other comments by Mr. Young, or are we okay? Okay. All right, we'll move on to item 22, Legislative Research and Statistics Division Chief's Report. Mr. Ted Angelo.
Hello again. Ted Angelo with the Legislative Research and Statistics Division. And we've pretty much covered everything today that I plan to talk about.
Yes.
So I am not going to belabor too much. I'm just going to kind of summarize, similar to Mr. Torres, even though I'm live and in person and can answer some questions. His summary of what they're doing was very well aligned with what we're looking at. Ours is a little broader. I would say, so just to recap, everything we're looking at is sent to you every week on Friday, and we try to keep that as accurate and up-to-date and comprehensive as we can. There may be a few bills missing, that we'll catch up on. But the ones right now, I can say AB 245 Gibson. So today you approved support of that with the Deputy Controller abstaining. And all of these, that was the roll. 245 Gibson for the disaster relief. And our analysis is underway right now, so we'll be finishing that up soon. That's the case for most of these. SB 23 is very similar to SB 296 by Senator Archuleta, who was here, and we supported his bill. So those are almost a carbon copy of one another, but that bill is online and posted, so the analysis will be the same, and 296 is put on there as well. So I just wanted to give you a status update on those. Those are posted on the website and available. Let's see here. There was a bill that was just amended on the 24th by Senator Perez, and it was an intent bill for the disaster relief for LA County. But this bill is extending the Prop 19 timeframe for transfer. It's currently 6 months in statute, and it's allowing for up to 3 years. I just saw it. So we'll be analyzing that bill as it was just amended and be taking a look at that.
It extends what?
So SB 293, let me grab it for you because I just saw it today. SB 293.
Extends Prop 19 provisions to.
So So under the Prop 19 provisions for transfer, this bill, let's see, and I probably shouldn't have spoken on it because I didn't have a chance to read and thoroughly go through exactly what it does, but we will follow up with you on it.
Yeah, you could do it next month.
Yeah. So I'm sorry for not
That's all right.
being ready to completely, but it references what's allowed for via the Constitution and then what was in Prop 19 for transfers. It's allowing the time frame to be extended up to 3 years for probably the transfer to the new property.
Is it targeting a particular type of property? Are these?
The base year transfer under Prop 19 now is a 2-year limit. So once you start the process, you have 2 years to transfer. This proposes to extend it by an extra year, so you get a little bit more time.
Oh, okay. Very good.
And that looks like that's the only amendment that's in
Okay.
the bill. So again, it was recently just amended. And thank you, Mr. Young. We're taking a look at SB 336 that was referenced by the assessors. So that one's for the current framework for low-income housing welfare exemptions is part of that bill, and I think it changes the formula in there to allow for slightly higher moderate income to receive a partial welfare exemption. So we're looking at that. It's being analyzed, and you'll have updates on that soon. SB 566 by Senator Grove is a proposal that would change the homeowner's exemption from the current $7,000 for everyone. It would allow for $50,000 for seniors age 62 plus, and would have, because of constitutional requirements, a corresponding renter's tax credit. So that bill hasn't been scheduled yet, but it's in the analysis standpoint, and obviously it would be a substantial, revenue issue. But it is trying to increase from $7,000 to $50,000 for senior 62 plus. So we're analyzing that bill.
What's the number of that?
It's SB 566 by Senator Grove.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Young just referenced SB 592 by Smallwood Cuevas and was talking about the 51% of tenants prior, so I'm not going to go into that one. So that's another one that we're tracking and analyzing. SB 603 by Senator Nilo is very similar to 245 and 663 by Senator Allen. But it's changing Section 69 for the authorization for emergency base year value transfers in the same county. It's a different code section. I don't have all the details how 69 is different from 70.5. Mr. Young could speak to it, but I'm just letting you know it's another one of the package of bills for disaster, adding 3 years onto the existing 5. There's an active solar extension in SB 710 that we're analyzing, and I don't have, the comment I had on AB 317, going back to the Assembly bills for that First-Time Homeowner Dream Act, we're taking a look because I think legal counsel came up and spoke to some of the concerns with who the intended recipient of the tax. We covered it well, so I'm not going to go into it again, but it contemplates the assessors being notified, where I think you could argue that it should be the treasurer tax collectors, but it all depends on what they're fully contemplating. If it's supposed to be a break for developers until that is first sold to a new first-time home buyer, regardless if there's qualifications that Ms. Lieber had mentioned for income qualifying, or if it's 400,000. Anyway, I won't belabor it, but there's some factors in that bill that, you know, as you're bringing it back to the next hearing, that we'll be looking at when we review that. Because you could make an argument that it should not impact the Board of Equalization's jurisdiction because it's basically a tax collection deferment. I think there's a couple of other watch bills. I'm not going to go into them now because we've heard a lot of legislation today, but there is a bill that has been talked about from an income tax credit standpoint, AB 389 by Assemblymember Wallace for fire safe improvements. That bill is on suspense in the Assembly Rev and Tax Committee, and it's, I believe, a $400 for each year, $2,000 cumulative credit for fire-resistant home improvements. So it's just, it has a tangential, tax credit concept, but it's on the income tax side, not on the property tax side. So we're just looking at that to see what they were doing, and that's AB 389 Wallace. And then the other bills that we heard about, I'm not going to recap in great detail, but the SCA 4 that Mr. Archuleta talked about today, we're looking at that. That's the one that combines the 7,000 homeowner exemption and the 4,000 disabled veteran exemption, not the 100% disabled exemption and 100% exemption he talked about in the other bill. So I think we've covered it really well today. And I'm just kind of recapping. So if you have any other questions on any other bills, I'm going to stop there.
All right. Any other questions?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Angelo, for bringing up 389. That's the tax credit for the home hardening. It looks like it's going to go through a process. Just 2 quick questions. Number 1, is there any upcoming deadlines that we should be aware of in the legislative process? And then number 2, my understanding is that this year is different than others. There's a cap on how many bills can be introduced in the legislature, yes?
There is. I don't have the number in front of me, but they reduced the number that each legislator can carry this year.
I believe it's from 40 to 30 in a 2-year session. So it especially impacts the members from LA who have bills dealing with the fire. And Senator Allen has a number of bills, and so that really digs into their bill limit.
Interesting.
And I'm also looking into deadlines for, so in terms of policy committee, the hearings are happening right now, but the spring recess is April 10th. So that's when generally most fiscal bills go through there. But I'm seeing some bills set for May that look like they have a fiscal implication, but it may be because they don't have a direct general fund impact, and so they're past the fiscal bill deadline and can be heard in policy committee past that, whether it's county impact, non-general fund impact. So I'm looking at that, but there are some bills with fiscal implications that are being set for May. And so I'm taking a look at that. There was one more that I didn't mention, but there is a bill that contemplates extending the Bagley-Keene issues that we dealt with for remote participation. SB 470 is a bill that would extend that. What I'm trying to see, and we're taking a look at that, and we'll be analyzing that as well to see if it changes the current framework or just extends it further.
Okay.
It does make it permanent, but what I'm not sure of is it, okay. So according to Ms. Stowers, but I have to verify, it just makes what was in place permanent,
Yes.
the existing framework.
Okay. Eliminates the sunset, maybe, huh? Is it a sunset?
I don't
bill?
think it had it. Did it have a sunset?
Yeah.
It removes the sunset date.
Yes,
Yeah,
okay.
removes it, so it makes it permanent.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Mr. Angelo.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. And we'll now seek public comment for executive director reports. Oh, okay.
Thank you. Thank
I
you for
thought you were
indulging me
done.
again. No, I thought so too,
Oh, okay.
but I needed to correct myself. SB 293,
Okay.
it is an extension. It's an extension. There's so many of them swimming around my head. I'm trying to keep them all straight. It's an extension for the parent-child exclusion. And it is from 6 months to 3 years. What it does is that when the assessor notifies the new owner, whoever is the transferee, it gives them extra time to file that parent to child. So it's a Prop 19.
Oh, good.
So
Good.
it does do that. It does give
Yeah,
more
we've
time
had some
for it.
people caught in that, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
very good.
Okay, thank you.
Who's the author?
Yep.
Who's the author on that?
I'm sorry, what's that?
The author?
Do you know the author of that? Perez.
Perez, okay.
Yes.
Wonderful, thank you. Thank you.
Can I make one more comment, Chair?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I know we had the Assessors Advocacy Day today. I would love to just hear what came out of that too at our next meeting. Thank you.
Very well. That'd be great to get an update. Thank you. Okay, yeah, Member Schaefer.
Our legislative, were you going to distribute these?
How could I forget?
Yeah, I saw a pile of interesting brochures, and he gave me one, said I'm going to give it to everybody, but he forgot.
I'm sorry, Ted Angelo again. The legislative summary from 2024 is ready, was bound, and Mr. Schaefer was just holding it up, and I have copies for everyone here today. I'm sorry I didn't mention that, but they're nice finalized copies for you, and I have copies, and there's extras if you need them for to share. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Mr. Angelo. Okay, public comment for executive director reports. We do not have any written comments or anyone in the auditorium. Did he?
I have a question of the executive director.
Okay. Mr. Schaefer.
As far as I read in the legislative report, that we hear all appeals for claims for refund or petition for redetermination denials as to the alcoholic beverage control program. Have we had any such appeals? I don't recall them in the 6 years I've been here.
That's a very good question, sir. I will have to check the records and get back to you. That is one of our
Sure.
programs.
And I'm talking about a comment in this. Okay, thank you.
Okay. We're ready to proceed? Public comment for executive director reports. We do not have any written comments or anyone in the auditorium who wishes to make a public comment on the executive director's report. Therefore, let's go to the AT&T moderator. AT&T moderator, please let us know if anyone is on the telephone who would like to make a public comment regarding these items on the agenda. AT&T moderator?
The moderator on the line?
Phone participant. Yes, phone participants, please press 1 and 0. We have a public
Thank you.
comment at this time. And we have no public comment in queue at this time.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, moderator. Okay, so the last item on the agenda today are closing remarks. We've got adjournment. Would anyone like to make some closing comments upon adjournment? Yes, Member Vasquez.
Yes, I wanted to, I have two adjourning motions. One, I'm sad to report that we lost a very active woman, Carmen Pettis, longtime activist from the city of Long Beach in my district, who sat on many boards, very active in the Democratic Party and in a lot of nonprofit groups. Sat on several boards. The one that really comes to mind was the big, powerful affordable housing nonprofit, Telecu, who's done a lot of work around the affordable housing and senior housing in the city of LA, and she was very instrumental. I think she was the president of the board for most of the time she was on the board. So she'll be sorely missed. And then the last one I have is Gene Hackman. You know, God, this guy had such a long career, not only in the film, but then also on Broadway. I like to adjourn in his memory as well. You know, his career spanned 75 films over 40 years. He received 2 Oscars, 3 Golden Globe Awards, a Screen Actors Guild Award, and many other accolades. Hackman was known for his honest and natural performances in films such as The French Connection, Unforgiven, and we must consider the solid and believable in many types of his roles. Born Eugene Gene Hackman was born in January 30th, 1930 in San Bernardino. His family moved to Illinois, where his father worked as a newspaper press operator, but his father abandoned the family when Hackman was 13, and Hackman then left at the age of 16 to enlist in the Marines. After serving 5 years in the Marines, he studied journalism and television production at the University of Illinois, then pursued acting at the Pasadena Playhouse in California. He landed his first Broadway role in 1964 in Any Wednesday, which led to his first film role in Lithium in 1964 and continued his successes until his retirement in 2004. Upon retirement, Hackman devoted much of his time to painting and sculpturing at the home in Santa Fe, New Mexico. I didn't realize he was actually a designer and developer himself. He built several homes, and most of them he had an opportunity to live in, including the last one in Santa Fe, New Mexico. And he was also had 2 novels, Playback Morning Peak, a Western, and then The Pursuit, a thriller, and co-author of 3 historical novels with his friend Daniel Lehan, an underwater archaeologist. Hackman's second wife, Betsy Arakawa, was a classical pianist who he married in 1991 and who tragically passed away in their home a week before he died. And you probably saw it all over the news. They were in their home, and I don't think they discovered him until like a week later. Gene Hackman is survived by his 3 adult children, Christopher, Elizabeth, and Leslie, and a granddaughter, Annie, and you'll be sorely missed. I had the opportunity to meet him once way back in New York when he did one of his Broadway plays. Very energetic and very warm and humble individual.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Deputy Controller Emmerich?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Great meeting. I have some news out of the city of Oakland. It's a city that I was born in, a city that I love a lot. But on March 17th in East Oakland, there was a 15-year-old walking named Durbin Alvarado. He was waiting for his friends to go to soccer practice, and there was somebody that came up and approached him, tried to take his backpack, and ended up shooting and killing this young kid. And my heart goes out to him and his family. It's very tough to see this violence, this level of violence, which is unacceptable out of the city of Oakland. To see a 15-year-old sophomore in high school lose his life, and what was just something waiting around after school for his friends to go be healthy, to go live an active lifestyle, and his life was cut too short. And I just want to send out a prayer to him and his family in this moment. There was nothing but good news and good things to say about this young child, and unfortunately, he's not here with us anymore. So thank you, Mr. Chairman. Once again, my condolences to his whole family. Thank you.
It's tragic, very sad. Other comments? Okay, I'd like to close, if I could, adjourn in memory of George Foreman, and want to honor a true American character, a larger-than-life persona who rose from humble beginnings to the heights of fame and fortune, only to give it away and then get it back again. In this rags to riches story of Big George Foreman, who passed away last week after a colorful and meaningful life. Foreman was a boxing prodigy who represented the United States in the 1968 Olympics, where he won the gold medal as a bruising heavyweight. Foreman turned pro and quickly became the heavyweight champion of the world. But in Act One, as a boxer, the unbeatable Foreman was known for a shocking loss to Muhammad Ali in the famous Rumble in the Jungle bout in Zaire. Do you remember this? Yeah. Foreman bounced back and climbed right to the top of the sport. But just when boxing fans thought they might get a second mega fight between the two legends, Foreman shocked the world. The born-again George Foreman gave it all up, his fame, his riches, and became a Christian minister. Foreman devoted his life to Christ, and for the next 10 years, he spread the word of God, devoting himself to his congregation at the Church of the Lord Jesus Christ, and with his youth center in Houston. Foreman later made a remarkable comeback as a boxer, winning the heavyweight world title again at the remarkable age of 45. If that isn't enough of a full life, Foreman also became the face of the beloved George Foreman Grill, which we've all seen on TV, right? Which earned him millions of new fans for something entirely separate from sports. So God bless George Foreman, his family, and the many people whose lives he touched.
Ted, the grill, I think he sold millions of them, and they were known as the lean, mean cooking machine.
That's right. Yes. Yeah, it's just a remarkable story. So, yeah, thank you so much. We will now adjourn, and the time is 4 p.m. The next board meeting will be a two-day meeting, Wednesday, April 29th, and Thursday, April 30th, at 10 a.m. in the Maley State Office Complex here in Sacramento. Thank you.